The Simulation Football League presents The Kramer Show. Your non-stop SFL action begins now.
Thank you once again, Mike Daggs, for a lovely intro. And today we have I guess I would say a news-packed episode of The Kramer Show, as we are being joined by the SFL Commissioner Cameron Irvine a little bit later on to discuss two, not one, but two of the teams that are coming in the SFL minor league season. Already, teams are coming in, pouring in right now. And I know he's releasing two at a time, but there's 8 teams in there. We're gonna dissect all of them when we get to that talk here later on in the show. But of course, always, every single week to start off the show,
the recap of the week.
All right, let's get into it. Jacksonville Kings slayed the Houston Hyenas 29-10. I was either going to go with Slade or Slew. It might be Slew since it's I don't know, it's plural, I don't know. But they defeated the Hyenas 29-10. St. Louis Gladiators took down the Seattle Tyrants 45-38. The Queen City Crusaders overran the London Knights 26-14. The Baltimore Vultures won the bird battle between the Sioux Falls Sparrows 34-28. Vancouver Legion took the Florida Storm down 27-21. The Las Vegas Fury gambled their way to victory over the Arizona Scorpions 24-9. It only took 6 points for the Atlanta Storm to beat the Chicago Wildcats 6-3. The Tulsa Desperados ran away from the Mexico City Aztecs 48-33. The New Orleans Pharaohs squeaked by the Charleston Predators 20-17. The Carolina Skyhawks reigned supreme over the Denver Nightwings 23-15. What stuck out to me the most was a game that ended 6-3, the Atlanta Storm Chicago Wildcats. I don't think I've seen a score that low at all since my time being in the SFL. But it's pretty crazy, and I would say it's kind of ridiculous how low it was. But, I mean, if you want to say it's a good defensive showing for both sides, you can easily say that. Because they might have, I don't know, there might be a player of the week that's a defensive player of the week from this team. We'll have to get to that a little bit later. But this was a weird week for the SFL. St. Louis Gladiators are continuing to impress. I think they're 500 now. They're 4-4. Very impressive, the fact that they actually took down the second team in the league last season. So you got to think that St. Louis is on pace to at least do some damage here in the playoffs. So that's good. That's good for St. Louis. They're actually on track for doing something. Vancouver, I know they lost last week, and they ended up getting that win this week. So good for them. Good for them to at least take on the Storm, because Florida, Alaska, however you want to call them, Floraska, they're still a good team, even with Mighty at the helm. So the fact that they actually got past Florida, Vancouver, might be that team to look out for. It's getting interesting. Right now the SFL it's at that time. We're heading into week 9. Week 8's over. We only go 12 weeks in the season, so you got to think. It's just crunch time for most teams. You're gonna see a lot of angry, a lot of happy, a lot of determined players in the SFL, and it's just a great time for them. So let's get on to it. I teased it.
Players of the week.
The offensive player of the week was for Tulsa Desperados running back Sonzo Robinson. He collected 18 carries for 132 yards along with 4 touchdowns. Yeah, he's one of the big reasons why the Tulsa Desperados scored 48 against Mexico City. The fact that he has kept pounding the ball to him, and he did what he had to do. He scored the touchdowns. 132 yards may not seem much, but the fact that you get 4 touchdowns is pretty ridiculous. So, good job for you, Robinson. The defensive player of the week, yes, came from the Atlanta Swarm, Aaron Lee. Lee had 8 solo tackles, 2 assisted, along with 3 interceptions. There's a reason why they only gave up only 3 points, and Aaron Lee is a big factor to that. 3 points for just only giving up 3 points for a team, that's ridiculous. Chicago, you got to figure something out. You can't be putting up only 3 points. Aaron Lee, your defensive player of the week. Your special teams player of the week comes from St. Louis Gladiators, Chase Earl. He had 7 returns for 231 total yards. One of those kick returns was a 95-yard touchdown return in a very, very, very stellar game. If you have not watched that was probably the game of the year. That's my game of the year candidate when we start to have those types of voting here in the SFL. That game was amazing. And Chase Earl is the reason why you were the special teams player of the week, was because of that touchdown. You know what I'm talking about. Chase Earl, you are the man. Now it's that time of the year. We're heading into week 9. That time of the year where we have to get crunch time, and that is playoffs.
Playoffs? Playoffs?
Playoffs? Yeah, it's the playoff picture right now. It's really tight. I just want to take a look at the bottom of it, like around the 9 through 10 portion of the playoffs, because it's jam-packed. As you look at it, as it comes up on screen, you have at number 9, not Chicago. Well, they're tied for the St. Louis Gladiators, 9 and 10, and for Las Vegas Fury. St. Louis Gladiators at 4 and 4, same with Chicago Wildcats and the Las Vegas Fury. They're 9 through 11. But then you look down 4 more teams below that are 3 and 5. That involves Mexico City Aztecs, the Carolina Skyhawks, the Denver Nightwings, and New Orleans Pharaohs. Carolina's riding a 2-game winning streak right now. Denver's offense we'll get to a little bit later. The New Orleans Pharaohs is a team it surprises me that they're in this little spot, but it doesn't surprise me of how low they are in the actual standings race. But the fact that they're kind of neck and neck, these are the teams right here that are not out of the picture. That's from 11 to 14. Mexico City kind of shocks me because at one point in the season, about 3 weeks ago, they were on pace to at least be in the actual, I would say maybe a 6 or 7 spot in the SFL. The fact they're at a 12, it kind of shocks me. The big thing is, only 2 of these teams right here will lock in their spot, and this is the bottom area. We could have some teams that are below the 15 area, 16 through 20, and creep their way up at 2 and 6. But right now, it's kind of unlikely that a 2 and 6 team possibly makes the playoffs. That's why I'm sticking with the 3 and 5. So it's a little tight race right here. I believe this week is the week we'll define to see who is going to be locking at number 9 and at number 10. I feel like this is that week we're going to see that. But if you take a look at the rest of the playoff picture, Atlanta Swarm, they're 7-1 right now. Legion 7-1. Strength of victory. That's the reason why. Even though that it's just the differentials, but has them. It's just a murky subject because I'll just get to it a little bit later. Charleston Predators 6-2, the Queen City Crusaders 6-2, the Baltimore Vultures 5-3, the Sparrows are 5-3, Kings are 5-3, Desperados are 5-3. It's a lot of 5-3 teams right there, and that's kind of like what determines the fact of all the you see 3, 4, and 4 teams, 4, 3, and 5 teams. You have, of course, 4, 5, and 3 teams. So it's everything's being all jam-packed into one right now, and it's all about that strength of victory, strength of schedule. That's what's going to determine the fact that these are the teams that are projected. Right now, you can probably lock it up and make it and just write it down that for a fact the Atlanta Storm and the Vancouver Legion are making the playoffs. 7-1. They'll have to have a dramatic downfall if they want to, I guess, miss the playoffs, but there's no chance. If you win 7 games, you are automatically locked in. They could I don't think they're going to be they're not going to be a 10 seed. If anything, there'll be a 6 or a 5 if they end up losing out the rest of the season for both teams. So you got to think they're sitting pretty good, and it's crazy. Plus, they'll have that first round bye, which is crucial. So that's your playoff picture of the SFL. A lot of things are, I guess, happening right now in the SFL going to Week 9. One thing that is happening, of course, is my conversation with Cameron Irvine. And, of course, I'll have that coming up next right here on The Kramer Show.